Here we are in Lead, South Dakota, in a mastermind that we put together a couple years ago called the NoGooRoos, because we don't like fucking gurus in this group. And we've got a lot of people assembled here with different backgrounds and different expertise. My name is Tony Whatley, and I am hosting this show today. But let's go down the row and get to know each person.
I'm Jeremy Ryan Slate. I'm the CEO of a new media company called Command Your Brand. I'm also the host of the Jeremy Ryan Slate Show. And late last year, the man to my right convinced me to grow a mustache, and it has since changed my life.
For sure.
Mustaches I think that was actually a group effort, I want to just say. I mean, Roger definitely led. He inspires all of us, no question.
It was group pressure.
It was stash pressure. You've heard of peer pressure? Stash pressure. Gets them every time. I'm Roger Wakefield, and I'm just a plumber, but I have literally taken the career of plumbing, gone to social media, and built an amazing following, a great community, and I think a great brand. And what I tell people all the time is, look, if I can do it as a plumber, anybody can. And that's why we learn so much from each other, and I think that we help each other, and we decided when we can get together and talk like this to video it, because it'll help some of y'all.
My name is Mike Fallat. I own a company called Dream Starters Publishing. We help entrepreneurs bring their stories to life in a book, and then we show them how to use it as a marketing tool to grow their business. My other company is called the $1 Million Book Agency. It's all about turning your book into a business with courses and masterminds and ads and funnels, and it's been wild. We started this company 2016, 2017. We've helped over 356 entrepreneurs become best-selling authors. It's been a wild ride, and that's how I got to know most of these guys.
Cool. And I am David Brier, and for 45 years I have worked with global brands, regional brands, national brands, local brands, startups, and even cities to help them rise above the noise. To date, I've helped clients generate over $7 billion in revenue. Well over, at this point, it's probably over 11 billion. I've kind of stopped counting. But the bottom line is I don't stop watching. And so that's what I love to do, is I love to give entrepreneurs the power and the juice to not come out, put in the hard work, create something remarkable, but yet come out into the marketplace and sound or just be sort of indistinguishable with everything else that's out there.
Let's throw a topic out there so we can all popcorn off this. What was the hardest thing that you had to overcome to start to put yourself out there and grow an audience?
Oh man, why do we start with me?
You're on the end.
Yeah, but you're more famous, man.
Yeah, but you have the youngest mustache.
I'll jump in. The hardest thing is getting started. The hardest thing is not knowing what you don't know. I lost $47,000 paying marketing companies to make my phone ring. And I decided, instead of just throwing more money at more marketing companies, I was going to try something different. So I walked into a social media marketing conference at the age of 54. Now, at the age of 54, social media is Facebook. And I was literally walking down the corridor to go to a Facebook class, and I saw a placard on the left said, "Get in front of your customers using video." And I thought, wow, you know what, we could do that. Never once thinking it would be me in front of the camera. And from that point forward, we started learning how to do YouTube, and we exploded. And it's been a really good thing, but the hardest part about it is getting out in front of people every day, because there's a lot of haters out there. We were talking earlier about, some rat boys that hate me and want to talk bad about me, and it's fine. But I go in and look at what I'm doing and how I'm doing it, and then go back in and test and double test. So getting in front of people every day when people tell you you're too old, you suck, whatever it is, and just to keep going, that's hard to do. But when you do it, you're going to win.
Yeah, I think the hardest part, like you said, is getting started, but having no clarity in the beginning. Mm-hmm. Not knowing if you're taking the right step, if it's going to lead to the promised land or to another dragon or to a trap, whether it's financially, spiritually, mentally. But when you leave a world of comfort and you go into the woods, if you will, and on your own, you start to find out who you really are. And you get a lot of scary answers. You don't have enough money, you don't have the skills, you don't have a lot that you need. And I think fighting through that maybe imposter syndrome or that self-doubt, especially when you're alone early on in the game, I think that's the hardest part. But once you start to have a little bit of success, it snowballs, right? It starts to pick up speed, and you start to have a little bit more confidence on camera, on social media, and it just starts to grow. And not only do you notice it, everybody else around you notices it.
Yeah.
And you
Quickly.
start to see how every action, whether it's perfect or imperfect, does lead to a self-development journey, if you will.
I think there's a cousin to that, which is, so we all start at some point, whether it's 54, whether it's right out of college or whatever, or we've gone from a 9 to 5 and now we're going into the entrepreneurial chapter of our existence. And one of the things that I found is that there's got to be this balance between what do you do, like as far as learning versus doing. There could be way too much studying, watching YouTubes, trying to like see how to do it right, and that is like the most crippling thing. Learn something, observe something, maybe follow 1, 2, 3 people, kind of go, okay, what are they doing? Study it, go, okay, good, now implement. Implement. You must take that leap into action. That is critical. And you're going to screw up. Your first will be your worst. We've all been there. And your second will be your second to the worst. You know, it's like you're going to gradiently move up. And that's the thing, is like, don't overstudy and wait till you fully understand it all. You will only understand it all after you've done something and executed. Then you look back and say, oh, that's what worked and that's what didn't work. You're not going to have that realization of what works great and what doesn't without the action. So the action part has to really be balanced out with learning.
Well, I think also, like, it's giving up good for great, too. Like, for me, that was really hard. I've had a podcast for the last 10 years. It's been a pretty successful podcast. But this trend started last year on TikTok about men think about the Roman Empire. And my wife mentioned to me, she's like, hey, honey, you're relevant now because your college degree is actually in that. I had a good laugh on that one. And as I mentioned, I was doing well with the podcast we had, and it's you take a look at what's happening. You're like, is this the right time to pivot, or do you pivot, right? Because you see a lot of entrepreneurs that, okay, they're on the crypto phase now, or they're on the Bitcoin phase now, or they're on whatever new craze there is out there. So you can sway with the wind, but you have to figure out when is the right time to twist. And in the last year, I've started talking about the Roman Empire, and what's happened is I'm getting bigger tier 1 media placements than I've ever gotten before, and it's put me at a different level than I was at a year ago. But I had to figure out, is it the right time to pivot? Because you can sway with the wind. You have to decide, like, is this right for me?
And who'd have thought the Roman Empire?
I don't know.
On social media.
No, yeah.
You know?
Right? Prior to 2015, I had no interest in being on camera or being on a stage, or I didn't even like the sound of my recorded voice. It sounded like I had too much Texan twang. And a lot of that's just based on insecurities and judgment and fear of judgment and trying to avoid that kind of situation. I mean, to give you guys a frame of reference, I built and sold a company before social media existed, exited my first one in 2007. And so I was pretty good at building companies without having to be the face of the company. And I did that just hiding in the background, building cool logos and building things and just putting that out first. And I knew that I had a bigger message to share with people. I knew that I wanted to go help people start businesses and get more confidence and start to do things. But really, I was looking at the personal development and the business space that we're all part of on social media. And I was really, frankly, just disgusted with what I saw. A lot of these things were just fake fraud people and posing in front of Lamborghinis and just trying to get rich quick and trying to sell you the next $9.97 course and all this crap. Literally, the group that we have, NoGooRoos, the name is because of that. And you see some of the content that I'll put out there, I'm really direct about that kind of stuff. And the reason is because I feel like I wasted 8 months of my life from 2015 to about mid-2016 because I knew if I was going to be the new voice, the new person showing up in that space, that everybody's going to be a skeptic and I'm going to be judged just like those fake gurus out there. And so I just kind of avoided it, and I kept avoiding it. And finally, I had a near-death experience, and I started to realize, like, I just need to do something because that time could have been all gone. And I realized that I've been hiding from things because of fear. Like most people are not willing to put themselves out there. It's a fear. Being honest, it's fear. So I had to start realizing that I had to have a stronger purpose than my fear and start putting purpose above fear. And that happened around somewhere 2016 to 2017, and the rest is history. But it was very hard to for me to get comfortable on camera, putting myself out there and feeling confident, because as Roger's mentioned, there are critics and there are haters, and they do show up when you start to make more noise.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, one of the blessings, though, is to see that you might not have all the answers, but when you get into rooms with other successful entrepreneurs, they don't have all the answers either.
Yeah.
Nobody really has the solution.
Well, it's
for
the ones
all
that tell you
problems.
they do that are dangerous, Mike.
Right? So, like, if you just know going in that nobody really knows the right path because everybody has made so many mistakes, it kind of makes it easier to say, well, I'm just going to screw up so much. But that does build a muscle where, how many times do you guys face it every day where there's a problem and you're like, I have no idea how I'm going to solve this, but I'm going to figure it out.
Yeah.
That's an automatic response now, and you're not afraid of it. And when you see your team members get flustered very easily, you're like, wait a second, just keep fighting through this. It'll get easier to tackle these problems. And I think that's such the blessing of what we went through. The harder it is, and the more you just keep pushing forward with that never say die philosophy, it's becomes an absolute gift in time. Am I right?
100%. And it's the factor that if it's so easy to kind of end up with some of these little formulas that people do, and more people fail with those foolproof formulas because they're just a little checklist of do this, do this, do this, as though we are all created equal. It's like that your skill set is the same as my skill set, that your zone of genius is the same as my zone of genius. No. What I found that works is if you understand why do we do these things that we do, why do we post, why do we differentiate, why do we separate ourselves out, why do we keep showing up? If we understand some of those fundamentals, from that we can extrapolate actions to take. Rather than, okay, show up. When you see someone, smile at them, shake their hand, say hello, look them in the eye. That's sort of artificial. That would turn this all into robots and copycats of one another, and it's not real.
Let's get into some tactics. What are some tactics that each of you have used to generate a bigger audience or more attention?
So I think one tactic that I apply constantly is just build authority in a certain space. And that does start with me getting around experts, right? Your network is based, your network will provide some type of credibility. So if you're around big players, it rubs off on you. So masterminds, and then I try to write and read as much as I possibly can on a certain topic. So you have to create a new identity. Jeremy is in the process of creating an identity about being the expert in the Roman Empire. So what does that mean? YouTube channel has to be about it. Every podcast episode, a book, most likely. Mm-hmm. Everything has to be built upon that identity you want to create. So the root word for authority is author. I believe that if you want to build some type of influence, it does require for you to write constantly about a certain topic. And individuals in the marketplace will look at you in higher regards if you are committed to a craft or to an expertise long enough to put a book out there, to get around expert players, and then maybe to constantly produce content on that one topic. Oh, I'm touching the table there.
He's beating the damn table.
So
you can hear it.
No wonder he was. But constantly putting out content on it does do something to the marketplace. And they look at you and they say, wow, you know what, if my problem becomes great enough, who has the solution? Well, the person with the book, with the network, and with the content for potentially years.
I can vouch for that, actually. Before I wrote my book with Mike in 2017, late 2017, I had all the same knowledge. I had all the same experience. And I was out there trying to get on stages, trying to get on shows, trying to get my message out there, and nobody gave a damn. Nobody gave a damn at all. They're just like, oh, who are you? And kind of blowing you off, or like, oh, yeah, maybe come back later, when you get a bigger audience or more followers. The typical things that people get blown off for. That book came out, did such an exceptionally well launch. I mean, we sold over 1,000 copies the first week. I was lined up for shows for 2 years. And I've done at least 400 or 500 interviews now as a guest on top of my own show. And so all that happened because you build the credentials of being an author, and people respect that. It's a title that you have to earn. It's not something that you can go get in a magazine and be a contributing editor or a journalist or All these things are sub-level of writers, but to be an author is a title that United States especially still has a lot of value for that because it requires effort to create that title.
Well, I think there's a couple different things. First of all, I think, Mike, did you get your speaking training from that episode of The Office where Dwight reads the speech from Mussolini and pounds the table every time? It's just like that.
These rookie podcasters
Yeah.
over here.
Don't touch the table.
Did you see that episode where at The Office where basically Dwight has to give a speech in front of all these salespeople for being salesman of the year, and he doesn't know what to do, so Michael gives him the speech of Mussolini and has him pound the table. You need to see it if you haven't seen it. But
Only from
Is that-
somebody
is
in
that-
the Roman Empire.
Yeah.
Is that one of your tactics?
that's one of my tactics. I pound this. But I think the thing you have to understand, there's a couple different things to look at when you're looking at creating content. I think the first is, number one, not every platform is going to be right for you. And I think that's something people can really get stuck on. I got to be on TikTok, and I got to be on Facebook, and I got to be on Instagram. And I think what you end up doing is you end up putting the same watered down piece of content on every platform because nothing's actually made for a platform. So for me, I actually spend most of my time on X or on YouTube. And X, formerly known as Twitter. I have a lot of long-form conversations because when you're talking about things related to the Roman Empire, I can't explain a lot of those things very quickly. There's years and steps and things it takes to get there. So a lot of the podcasts I'm doing are 1, 2, 3 hours to actually explain something. So that's the right format and forum for that to happen. And the same reason I use X is I actually do threads. Threads are when you take a bunch of posts and put them together to tell a story. And I'm doing anywhere from 10 to 20 posts in a thread to actually explain something. So you have to figure out what platform is your content best for. You know, Tony said a book is right for him. Mike said a book is right for him. I've written as well, but I find that for me, the thing that's charged me the most is spending a lot of my time either on X or on YouTube.
And by X, he doesn't mean the drug. Just want to throw that out there.
Formerly known as Twitter.
Yeah, exactly. And my thing is, I built credibility on YouTube, and that's where I started. Once I lost all this money to marketing companies, I decided I was going to learn social media. And luckily, I started with YouTube. And it didn't take very long to learn how to do it and start doing it right. But just like anything else, you've got to hire the right people. You've got to hire the right coaches, the right consultants, the right mentors, whatever it is. You can figure out how to do it, but the more people you learn from, the better it's going to be. And the credibility Tony was talking about from the book, I've done that with YouTube. I mean, I've been on the Today Show. I've been on Dr. Phil. I've been on Chris Cuomo with Mike Rowe. And this was not me seeking anything out. This was them reaching out to me saying, hey, you are seen as an authority in this industry. We would love to have you on. Mm-hmm. And when we talk about building authority, you know, what Google's looking for is EEAT, expertise, experience, authority, and trustworthiness. But they're not just looking for it on your website anymore. They're looking for all your social platforms. If I talk about plumbing on my website, am I doing it on YouTube? Am I doing it on LinkedIn? Am I doing it on Facebook? Because Google crawls everything. And Tony can build the greatest plumbing website in the world, but if he's not talking plumbing everywhere, but he's just put the word plumbing all over a website, they're like, man, he's got it here. He's covering it pretty good. But Roger talks about it everywhere. Mm-hmm. And that does build up your EEAT, and that's what Google's looking for. And you know, the authoritativeness that it gives you is phenomenal.
Well, if you look at the thread between us too, right? Like, we're all on just about every platform,
Mm-hmm.
but I spend most of my time on Twitter or X. You spend most of your time on YouTube.
Absolutely.
Tony spends a lot of time on Facebook, and you spend a lot of time on being an author. David is crushing it on LinkedIn. We all have something that we really concentrate on as like our core content piece. And I think if you look at a lot of successful creators, sure, they're in a lot of different places, but they have a core content piece that they actually build a lot of their content off of.
I would say that the unusual tactic that I use that I say most people don't use, and I've started 3 businesses. Actually, the first community that I grew to 300,000 members, and the next community I grew to another 200,000 members. A wheel business became a 7-figure business. The coaching business, 365 driven. All these were started by answering questions in groups that already existed. So automotive groups, I was the one that would study things and learn things and get the results, and I couldn't wait to teach people. So I was writing all these how-to articles, and when people had technical questions, I would just answer their questions. So I became the source of answers, And it wasn't because I was trying to do things to game the system and trying to gain some influence. It's just I genuinely like to answer questions and help people. I'm a coach, I'm a teacher. And so when the wheel business came around, people kept asking, hey, what wheels fit my car? And what finishes look best on my car? And I'd say, hey, these are the ones I would pick if that was my car. And I kept giving them fitness advice and teaching them things about the different types of wheels. And soon enough, I was giving all this free advice. It's like, I might as well just start a wheel company and sell it to them too. And so that's how one business. The coaching was the same way. I was in these business groups with entrepreneurs, and I would post things and I would answer people's questions. And I see too many people in these communities like Facebook groups that want to always be the creator, the originator of the article and the posts. Guys, there's gold if you just become the one that answers all the questions, because it's not necessarily, you're not only just serving the person that asked the question, but all the viewers and all the people that watching you respond start to recognize your name and your face as the person that has a lot of the answers, or at least a lot of the referrals that have the answers. So you become that hub of the person that knows everyone, that don't have to have all the answers, but you have to know where to go get them. And so I think I see a lot of people, and we see this in the influencer space. They do the thing that's a post and ghost. They just want to be the ones posting content.
And never reply.
They never reply. They don't even like the responses they get.
Well, I think a lot of them too, like a standout point too, you can look at the ones that have big accounts and no engagement.
Yeah, it's
You have
terrible.
no engagement.
It's one-sided. It's a one-way conversation. And those people may be entertaining, but they don't have a long shelf life, because people soon realize, like, well, I like this person, but they never even like my post. They don't even acknowledge that I actually responded. And so be the person that answers the people that respond to your post. Acknowledge them. At least throw a like. Let them know that you saw that they took some time to do that. And that is one of the smallest things that I can see that, yes, it takes time, it takes effort, but so many people get this wrong.
And one of the things that I see too, Tony, is the people that they hire companies to do their social media
Oh,
posts.
terrible.
And, don't get me wrong, there's some people out there that I think can do that right. But when you hire a company to do your social media post, ask them, give me the 3 best companies that you've done. They're never going to give you the worst, trust me. Ask them for the 3 best. And then go in and look at the posts, and then go down and see how long they've been posting. But look at those posts. How much engagement is there? Most of the time, there's 1 like, 1 heart, and that's about it. Well, guess what? That's the marketing company that put it up. So look at what people are doing, because it's not really a post. You're not building a community. You're not engaging with anybody. You got a half-ass article or post put up by somebody that God only knows what you're paying for. And if you're somebody out there paying for social media, go look at your posts. Who's engaging? Who's giving them likes? Who's giving them hearts? Who's giving them thumbs up? Or is anybody? Because there's a lot of money just freaking being thrown away there.
Well, let's talk about that then. What are the red flags when you're looking at other people's social accounts or things like that? What things do you guys look for that you're like, okay, that's something?
David's firing up. Look at him.
Yeah, I know.
I know for
David's
me-
laying it in for the kill.
I know for me, like especially like when we're looking at podcasts, the number one thing we look at that tells us if a show is fake or not is we look at reviews. And you're going to see a whole bunch of reviews that came around the same day. They're written really poor English, or they say, great show, man, I love your show. So
Bots.
to us, that's an indicator that they went on Fiverr, they paid for somebody to review their show. Probably not a lot of other credible things behind that. What other things are you guys seeing that makes you look at somebody's credibility and question it?
Before
Before he
David's
gets
loaded
down
over
there,
there. Look at him. He's
I
ready
know,
to go.
he's like, look,
He's
I'm
so
locked,
ready.
locked and loaded, ready to
before you
fire.
respond, David, should I turn the gain down on your mic?
Yeah.
No pounding on the table.
But hold on. I just want to say one thing about the podcast, because I've got a podcast. We've got about 72 episodes out. We've grown a second YouTube channel. I've never even gone in to look to see if we have a review. I've never gone. I don't even know how we do on Apple. But I mean, that's.
But there's
Look,
people that are looking to game that.
Podcasts aren't my thing, but the views that we get on YouTube, people come tell me, oh my God, Roger, I've watched so many of your videos and have learned so much. I literally just got an email today or yesterday. It's like, Roger, I am starting my business and I have listened to about 80% of every podcast you've put out in the last month.
And you respond to your YouTube.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So YouTube is where I do, but I don't know if I've ever had a reviewer or anything else on any of the podcast channels. I don't listen. Okay, David,
Well, let's wind
we're
it
going
up
to turn
now.
off our mics and just lead them into you.
So there's a few things. I mean, one is I want to just frame this there's a few things that I thought of as we were talking about this leading up to this. One is that I think that nobody's mentioned that for those watching, if you listen to what each person has said, the one thing you will see, there's a trait of conviction.
Mm-hmm.
They're not kind of like, well, I kind of think, there's not like being namby-pamby. It's not like being, well, maybe I'll kind of throw out.
We're not half in, half out.
We're not.
We're very certain.
We're not being.
We are very certain.
And you know what? And if we're wrong, we're okay with being wrong. But we're not going to like approach it tentatively so that if we're wrong,
You know it's coming.
the pushback won't be so bad. It's like, you know what? If
winding
I
up.
fucked up, I fucked up. It's very simple to own. Not a big deal.
Yeah.
That's one thing. The other thing is every one of us can smell a pitch. It's like, hey, really been admiring yourself. You already know. That's like the car salesperson who comes over to you and says, hey man, best looking baby I ever saw. God, how old is he, she? Whatever they are. Okay. So we smell bullshit, we know bullshit. And every one of us, when someone comes on our radar, I think I can speak for all of us, we go and check them out.
Oh, absolutely.
If they say, I'm a guru, I look at a guru, and if that guru's got 250 followers and does a post once every month or something like the sniff test, do they pass the sniff test? So I said conviction in one sentence, but then on the other side I go, okay, yeah, you want to have conviction, but don't make a claim that someone can immediately disprove that you're like full of shit. Now, you can have the conviction of like, here's what I have found works. Good, have all the conviction you want. You're not making some claim that you are something that you're working toward. So be cognizant of the lens that you're going to be seen in. Those are red flags. You will burn more bridges. And I will tell you, as a side note, for those that do know me or have followed me or whatever, it's like people know, okay, yeah, wow, Damon John's a buddy of yours. Claude Silver, who's Gary Vaynerchuk's number 2, is like, she's written the forward to your next book, and da-da-da. And I have some real high-profile VIPs that are in my corner, and I respect that. I do not. I have more people that come over. Hey, do you think you could tell Damon I got like this really cool thing? You think maybe you can introduce it? I'm like, no, I can't, because the bottom line is I will not violate the trust that's been given to me by those people, right? I respect that and I actually asked Damon this one time. I said to Damon, hey, how many pitches do you get a day? He was about 100.
Damn.
Every freaking day. Probably 99 of those 100 have never known him or spoken to him or even have an introduction. So that's a line I would never violate. I'm not going to become, oh, David only is using me because. It's not. That's something I treasure those things. But the way that I actually got to meet those people was I authentically, to the point of interaction, I saw something. I actually wrote an article for my Fast Company column on Shark Tank because my wife and I, that was our guilty pleasure on Friday nights when it was like in this season 2. And we would just love it. We were like, oh, this is so cool. We loved the pitch. We loved seeing the guys yelling each other out for the deal, who's going to make what offer and counter offering and counter negotiating. And we loved it. So I wrote an article on like what I saw as like who were the deals that actually were, which deals were making it through. What were the traits that were the common to the ones that actually were getting through. So I wrote my own article. And within a day or two, Damon John tweets, the best article ever written on Shark Tank. Now he tweets that. Now, I don't know Damon at this point. Now, I see that, I'm like, oh shit. I'm like, thanks, dude.
Time to go to work.
That was Aussie. He goes, and at that point, he was handling his own stuff. He wasn't being handled by Junior. So now it's like, he goes, absolutely, man, totally. Well, now I'm like, okay, now I'm thinking, all right, there's an open door. So I thought to myself, okay, what could be cool? I said, I'd love to actually interview Damon for my own blog and sort of just build a relationship. So I thought of a headline and I said, you know what? You need and deserve like a killer slogan. I messaged him privately and he goes, yeah, like what? And I said, here's what I came up with. A Damon is a girl's best friend. And he was like, I love that. I'm like, because I knew it was just killer. And he was just like, so immediately we're like, yo, when can we do it? So But I didn't violate it. I didn't take it as an opportunity. But I didn't go in. I didn't write the article with, hey, maybe one of the sharks is going to reach out to me. I just wanted to give to the world. That was my conviction. This is the stuff that I observed. Someone might have said, I think your observations are full of shit and they're bullshit. They could have said that, which is fine. Didn't change the fact that I had conviction on what I observed and was willing to share with the world. So, and the same thing with Claude. I mean, I went in simply admiring because of what I saw. I saw videos of her. So, truly authentic outreaches.
Chief Heart Officer.
The Chief Heart Officer. That's what
I mean, that's what she is. That's
exactly.
what she's all about.
And she's amazing. She's a remarkably unique individual. But the point is you see conviction here. If you're going to have conviction on things that you can defend. Your experience you can defend.
That's right.
And let me ask you something. You said people come up to you all the time, say, hey, can you hook me and Damon up? Can you do this? Can you do this? Have any of us ever asked you for anything at all like that?
No, actually.
Okay?
No.
And I just thought about when you said it because I thought, I would never want that. I wanted Dr. Phil to reach out to me. It happened.
Right.
I wanted Chris Cuomo to reach out to me. It happened.
Right.
I wanted the Today Show to reach out to me. It happened.
Right.
I've never asked or wanted to say, hey, man, you know, come on, Gary Vee, man, hook a brother up.
To add to that, though, we are always referring each other to people that
Absolutely.
we know it's a mutual beneficial relationship. Like we'll get referred to different shows and stages, and
Rogers is hooking up with one of the
and
best
then it's
podcasts
like,
I've
man,
done.
I got somebody you need to talk
that's
to.
right.
Yes.
Yeah.
but we really don't ask. We don't ask those things because
Yeah.
we all have a different list of names that'd be like kind of being douchey for all of those.
But it's also a context of are we giving or are we taking?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And the foundation of every one of our initiatives, if you play back literally to what we've just all said, every one of those was a give. It may have been a different style of give. Okay, you can give this way, you can give that way, you can respond back, you can do different things, but it's a give context. It's not what can I get out of. People can smell someone coming over and you know it. You know it when they come up to you. And perfect example, there was a guy, I will leave him nameless, I don't even know if he's still alive, knowing how long we've both been
He's
in the
dead to
industry.
you. He's dead to you.
He's definitely dead to me.
Dead to you.
But the thing is,
You are dead to me.
he was famous.
Running down a dream.
we would have these industry sort of after work parties, and he would be famous for showing up, walking up to you, and he'd walk up to you, and even he goes, great to see you, Mike, and he'd give you his card, and then he'd just look in the eye, and then he'd go to the next person, and that was his way of working the room. But he did that. It was like, dude, I mean, am I supposed to is one of those times that you're giving me the card that I'm supposed to now all of a sudden go, whoa, I didn't realize what a brilliant guy you are.
Card.
Hey, do you take Visa? Do you take MasterCard? Do you take your Amex? What's it good? What is it?
David, you should have saved up 100 of those cards and sold them back to him.
But let's go deeper than that though too, because I think conviction's important, authenticity is important, but I think for a lot of people watching this, they encounter gurus every day. No matter what level in their business is. Maybe they're new and they need help, whatever it might be. Like Roger, for example, when you look at a YouTube channel, what things stand out to you? You're like, oh man, this guy's full of crap. He's fake. There's probably certain things you look at.
It's what message are they trying to deliver? Are they bringing value to you, or are they asking you for something? And I thought about that about David a while ago about LinkedIn. I can't tell you how many connections I get a day. They're like, hey, I want to do this with you. I want to work. I've got a deal for you, and that's the reach out. And I'm like, man, when I reach out to people, I'm like, hey man, look, I've looked at your YouTube channel, and I think that there's some things that I can help you with. If you're interested, I'd just like to talk to you about it, because I love their message. I love their idea. I love what they're talking about. Throw it away. It's the GoPro.
Oh, okay.
I love what they're talking about. I really want to help them. I want to help them grow, because I'm like, man, more people in the world need to hear that message. It's not, hey, hire me to do this for you. I'll make you a hell of a deal. It's like, man, look, I want to help you with this. And it's a completely different way to look at it.
I think one of the biggest red flags that I've noticed, and I'm in many masterminds, is that if you can't articulate how they made their money or how they make their money,
Yes.
that is a huge red flag. And I've been in rooms with very successful people that everybody looks
He
up
did
to.
the air quotes, by the way, for the listeners.
Yeah, I
That's
saw
air
that.
quotes, guys.
Successful.
And
Successful
I will
people.
be with many people in that room, and we would ask each other, how the heck does this person make their money? And they still can't figure it out.
Well, Mike, let's add to that, because you've been in a couple masterminds that kind of just didn't wash out.
They imploded.
What are the red flags that you see now looking back?
Well, that's
Well, that's a
number
good
one.
question. I like that. I don't know the answer to that.
That's number one. Your gut instinct, and maybe that's another aspect of this. Your gut is faster than your mind, and sometimes
You felt it then. You kind of sensed something.
something was. And by the way, I think that no matter how far we go with our businesses, we still will get duped to some degree by some people. It will still shock you.
And you said your gut is faster than your mind. That's why you never trust a fart.
Yeah.
Well,
Could be wet.
He doesn't know what to do with that. He's
I
a
know.
little confused right now.
And that goes right back to, do they pass the sniff test?
Well, I guess. So Tony, you're kind of, I don't know, notorious in some ways, maybe for some of the content you make about the coaching world and the coaching space.
Oh.
So there's obviously certain things that you look at and you're like, guys full of crap, guys full of shit, guys full of crap. What are those things? Because I'm sure there's people out there that are like, I need a coach, or I need help, or I'm looking for the right advisor, and sometimes it can be a big investment. Like, what are those things that you're like, you've made a video about, or you're so excited to in the future make a video about the coaching world?
I think it goes back to observing human behaviors and words. And if you see actions or words being used that indicate someone with low self-esteem or insecurities that may either have money and they're portraying something they're not, or they're new to money and they're trying to do this flex stuff because they're excited about finally having some money to show off something. And I'm not being a hypocrite, because I was like that in my mid-30s when I became, financially well off. I did some stupid stuff. I'd park 10 cars in the driveway and take all the photo of all of them at the same time. And, I just did all that stupid shit. So I identify those kind of things now that people still do. It's human behavior. They don't have the wisdom, they don't have the experience to realize that people who are genuinely successful don't need to do that crap. Like, if you're hanging out in a room with the millionaires, legit people, they're not talking about which watch they're wearing and all this crap. They just don't do that. So the other thing is, I look for in messages, like with the branding and the message of the marketing. If somebody's automatically talking about, I can make you richer, and they're trying to sell you something, or talking about how much they sell, I'm a 7-figure this, I'm an 8-figure that, my red flags automatically go up, like red flags. They're going to have to work from the due diligence and me doing research to go down that rabbit hole to see if they can get back to a caution flag. And then eventually, through a period of time, they may earn that light green flag at the end if they have made it through 2 or 3 years and not screwing people over. But I find that the easiest way to screw people over is with people that talk about money and success and rich, and they want to sell you something. And like David said, you go look and see what they've done. And Mike said that. Like, what did they do? Like, where did this come from? And if somebody has only become financially successful by being a coach, by selling programs, or by selling marketing, paid ads to deliver a digital ebook, they're not really successful to me. Like, they figured out maybe some way to make some kind of a cash flow thing, but they can only really teach you that one thing. And those people are usually young and they're inexperienced, and they think that, okay, I made a couple million just selling ebooks. Well, let me teach you how to run this legit 8-figure business, and let me teach you how to be a business coach. Like, no, you haven't actually done anything in a real business.
Well, I think that's an important part too, because just going back to the numbers thing, because people do, I don't think PR is the right way to explain it, but they kind of do a little bit of a word salad when they're trying to explain to you like how they've made money, like 7-figure earner. And I remember a bunch of years ago, my dad retired. When you retire, Social Security sends you a statement to show you all the money you've made in your life and basically what you've paid in Social Security. And I'm looking, my dad's always worked hard his entire life, but he never made a lot of money. And we're looking at this statement, I'm like, oh, look at that, Dad. In your 50s, you crossed over earning 7 figures. And I think people don't consider that when somebody's saying, hey, I'm a 7-figure earner, how many years are they adding up to tell you that? They're not saying I'm a 7-figure earner annually. So I think those things are important.
And some of the gurus are counting the 2 zeros that are the penny sign. Okay, so it's easy to help somebody make 50 grand. But I love that you pointed that out, Tony, because you see these people all the time. I can make you rich, okay? And if somebody comes up and tells you they can make you rich, call bullshit. Because number one, they don't know how hard you work. Because guys, you don't just sit on your ass and get rich. You got to work for it. And if they don't know you, they don't know your work ethic, they don't know your mindset, they don't know your desire, they don't know how hungry you are. They can't tell you that. And if they tell you that and say, look, just start writing me these checks, start paying me this money because I can make you rich. If they don't know anything about you like that, that's a big red flag right there.
Well,
totally.
your true character is not exposed until things go bad. That's it.
That's
And
a great
so,
point.
if you want to find out who somebody really is at their core, wait for a downturn in the economy. Wait for something to go south with a business deal. You'll see who that person really is. And the only way that I can really get to the bottom of it is do business with someone at a very low level, whether that's, client, business owner relationship or joining their mastermind at a low level. And then what if you leave that mastermind? How do they treat you? When you do business with them and they don't come through, what happens? What's the conversation look like? You'll be able to find out very easily who they really are. And success
give
leaves clues.
examples like, hey, they're not giving you refunds.
Well,
They're leaving people hanging.
they're not responding to you. You notice that if someone leaves their mastermind, they look at them as the enemy. And so you can see it in other people before you even experience it directly. So you start to see these little trends, and I'm telling you, success leaves clues, but also con men and con women, the habits that they embody throughout their life, it's difficult for them to let them go. So look deep enough, do your due diligence, but also, I think you have to act. You actually have to join these masterminds. You have to do business with them to really find out. So just don't do it at a degree that could actually come back to bite you.
There's one, I do want to interject one thing to complement what you just said, which is, we've all seen this, because I think, is any one of us not hired or invested in an outside marketing group, right? We've all done that to some level, right?
Yeah.
The interesting thing, and it's something I'm saying this in advance in case for those that are kind of like maybe earlier in their journey or haven't yet hired people, here's what I look for. The individuals that are the great ones want you to become, they want to actually get you so successful that you no longer actually have to depend upon them.
Correct.
Great point.
They actually want to give you more independence. They don't resent you when you actually rise up.
Bingo.
Oh,
Yeah.
egos.
Yeah, and so the thing is that, so that's a little gauge you can look for. You can go, are they saying and doing things and sharing the kind of knowledge that keep you hooked on that drug, dependent upon them, or is it actually and that's one thing that I think that, some people love him, some people don't love him, but I think Gary Vaynerchuk has actually been very good about that, because there's one thing that he's talked about is there's an abundance. It's like, it's not, hey, I'm going to get my pie and take away from your piece of pie. He's actually like, there's plenty of
enough pie for everybody.
Yeah.
Right.
And one other thing that always impressed me, when people said, hey, Gary, I've decided to leave and go elsewhere or start my own shop. If they've even had to be fired because they weren't a good fit, we're going to help you find a place. We're going to help you actually land someplace else.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I mean, some people go, that's financially not even economically supportable. It is, because look at what you're telling the world.
Man.
Well, I think an important point to that too, and then I'll get back to you, Mike, sorry, is because I just want to piggyback off what David said. If you're hiring a contractor, if you're hiring an outside firm, whatever it might be, you still have to realize your responsibility level in that. And that's often understanding what are the key statistics you should know. Because even if an agency reports statistics to you, you will find they're going to show you the ones that make them look good, and they're going to hide the ones from you that make them look bad. So it's important for you to understand what is the hierarchy of the ones that actually move the ball forward, so that way you can know if you're being taken for a ride or you're controlling the situation.
And I recently, I'm going to say this, I'm going to overview. There's a recent interview for one of my clients. There was an SEO agency that I was vetting out. And he goes, so I'd like to share some case studies. I said, I have no interest in your case studies. I said, you're only going to tell me the good shit and everybody else, just like everybody else. I said, I really don't give a shit. I said, you know what's going to give me value? I said, I want you to look at the client we're talking about, my client. I want you to tell me the things that you would fix. I want to see the world through your eyes. And I will know if you actually have the wherewithal to actually do it or not. Because if you're not asking the right questions, I'll know it. If you're not looking at the right things, I'll know it. That's going to tell me more than any amount of success stories, which I know you've got. Everybody, I would expect anybody to have success stories, but I really don't give a shit. And he laughed and he goes, okay. And he came through. But that was the way to vet it.
But it's understanding your own responsibility in it, right? I think oftentimes people get taken for a ride. It happens. But you have to also be willing to become aware enough so that you can be more causative in a situation.
Sure.
One of the things I learned to ask is, I want to know the worst customer you ever had, the one you couldn't help. And we're like, oh, well, number one, I've never had one like that. Okay, red
Bullshit.
flag. Red flag right there.
Yeah.
Roger,
Tell me your
I just
worst
refunded
customer.
one a paid in full last week because he was the smartest person in any room he's ever worked in.
I've met
Any
people
mistake
like
that ever happened, it was always somebody else. I'm like, dude, here is your full year's contract back. Just have it.
But that's the kind of question I ask, because if you told me that, if I were hiring you, Jeremy, and you told me that, and I called him and I said, hey, David, you worked with Jeremy. How'd it work out? You know what? I got to tell you, it wasn't great, but he gave me every penny back. Mm-hmm. He tried to help me, and it didn't work out right, but I gave him every penny back. Dude, I'm hiring you. Because if I'm not happy with you, you're giving me my money back.
Yeah.
And I already know that.
Yeah.
So, man, that's what I want to know. Show me your worst customer. When I used to hire plumbers, tell me about the worst day you ever had at work. Oh, God, man, we screwed up. Okay, what'd you do? We drilled all the holes in the wrong place. And we didn't.
That to me is an accountable response.
Absolutely.
Totally accountable.
And it's like, okay, how do you fix that now? He says, I double check every column I
There you
ever
go.
pull a line off.
Accountability.
Okay, yeah, you had a problem, you resolved it, and you own up to it. You don't say, man, look, I've never really had a bad day. See ya, because I don't want your first one to be here, because it's going to be horrible.
Well, in plumbing, I'm guaranteeing you there's at least some shitty situation.
There are some shitty days, I promise.
Literally.
Yeah.
I want to share some guru math. Guru math, okay?
Ooh,
I
that's
think
fun.
a lot of this happens with the digital marketers with ClickFunnels. It's a good platform. I think that they do a really good job. But the big award that everybody saw for years and years and years, the 2 Comma Club Award.
Yep.
We had all these digital marketing and digital marketing agency people parading on Facebook and Instagram with their trophy and standing on a stage. And those of us that are outside of the ClickFunnels family, we didn't understand what was required to have that. You just saw 2 comma clubs, which for those of you not familiar, like if you look at a $1 million, it's got 2 commas in it. And so you're thinking, oh crap, man, they're successful. They've done over $1 million. And so in your
10
mind,
years.
yeah, in your mind, you think it's 1 year because that's how most businesses are judged. When we hear 7-figure revenue company, that's 7 figures in 1 year. Well, ClickFunnels, when I discovered that after this, probably 3 years in of watching this, it's cumulative. It's the lifetime. If they took 10 years and they sold $100,000 per year and they finally made $1 million in sales, they would be eligible to win this award. And I was like, that is some bullshit, right?
Okay, now I'm going to expand on the bullshit, because you said if they sold $1 million. If you got the 2 Comma Club, you could have built a funnel for
Oh, yeah, it
Jeremy,
doesn't even have to be
for
you.
Roger, for Mike, for
could have
David,
got 5
and
of us.
50 other companies.
Yeah.
And you build them for 50 companies, it doesn't take a lot to do $1 million in
And
sales.
it's their ad spend, not yours.
Their ad spend, you
didn't spend any
you help them
Great
put the funnel together, and you've got your
So
code
that's
on it.
one big example of
Yeah.
guru math. The other guru math is kind of leading into that, the 7 and 8 figure
Oh.
stuff. So when you meet people or you go to these business conferences or these big seminars and people are like, oh, I'm a 7-figure this or I'm 8-figure this. Guys, that is some guru ass math, because let's look at the statistics. Only about 40% of businesses actually positive profit per year, because we see a lot of failures. 20% of businesses are kind of like dog paddling. They're barely above water. They're kind of breaking even all year long. And that leaves 40% of businesses that are in the red. They're just losing money every year. And so let's take out the 40% that are winning. They can say, hey, I'm 7-figure, 8-figure in this. But the thing is, everybody in the room, isn't it funny how you go to these business conferences, there's 1,000 attendees, they're all business owners, but for some reason, they're all the successful ones. Like it's like nobody's losing, nobody's breaking even, and they're all like, oh, you're 7-figure this, I do 40 million a year. Yeah, but you're losing 41 million a year. So are you really successful at this? So that's guru math number 2. The other one is just this late one I've seen. This is more common. I've seen this on some of the big influencers. When they tell you that they have a portfolio of businesses doing $100 million. I've got a portfolio. That's the key word. If you hear that, just
Is it
start-
Manila? Is it a
red
Manila
flag? Just
portfolio?
throw that shit up. If you hear them talking about, I
Is it
have
a
a
leather one?
portfolio of businesses doing $100 million. First of all, let's dissect that. They're saying that the group of businesses that they partially own or invest in have a combined revenue of $100 million in 1 year, right?
Revenue, but what's their profit?
What's the profit? That's one question you should ask. The other one is, what percentage of those portfolio businesses do you actually own? Do you own all of them? Are you a 5% partner of 100 businesses
Or
doing
1%?
1 million?
Tony,
1%?
I own an NFL team. I own one share of the Green Bay Packers.
Hey, guys, if you go buy a single
started to do
percentage
that.
of stock in Apple or Amazon or in these big names, you can go buy go spend $10 and buy some stock in Amazon.
You're a portfolio
You now
owner.
own a portfolio of businesses doing
Billions.
billions of dollars.
Yeah. So now you
I
can.
can't believe I haven't been using it.
I know, now
I
you're in
wanna
the
add that to my
10-figure
intro
club.
that I mentioned in the beginning.
You've got a portfolio of
What a
businesses doing
shortcut.
multi-billions.
Billions and billions.
Yeah. And okay, I'm gonna add a bonus one. Guru math number 4. You hear about these people selling these
Did we
companies.
skip
that-
3?
I think we
No,
skipped
no,
three.
there's
Checking.
3. There's
Okay,
3. There's
just check.
ClickFunnels.
Okay.
Okay.
There was the 7-8 figure bull crap.
Okay.
There's the portfolio.
Okay.
Number 4. Here we
Okay.
go.
I'm a plumber, Tony. My math is a little slow.
I deal in BC, so that's my problem.
I'm gonna keep you guys in suspense now. I'll come back to it.
We'll come back to that one. Number 4.
This side of the table wasn't heckling you.
Mike-
We were
Mike-
very
Tell
interested.
them we'll be quiet. Tell them we'll be quiet.
It's the mustache side.
I know.
You made me forget what I was gonna say. So now there's only
There's more
3.
guru math, man.
There's only 3.
Yeah.
Well, Mike's been waiting to say something for like 10 minutes.
Well,
already.
He forgot
He's gurued out.
I was going to chime in on the other aspect of what we were talking about, but when it comes to guru math, man, I'm telling you, you start to get in these rooms with super successful people, right? On paper, on social media.
Yeah.
And then you peel back the curtain and you know it's a lie. You start to realize it. And it does make you a little jaded to maybe try other masterminds. You just can't allow it to happen. You can't get that angry at it.
You gotta stay
because
positive.
You got to stay positive and you got to laugh at it. And I think that's what Tony does so well, is that he makes fun of this type of lifestyle, right?
Yeah.
Making more of who you are than you really are. And I think that as you join masterminds and you start to work with people, you're going to see it more and more, and you can't let it make you hate the entrepreneur space or capitalism.
You gotta laugh
100%.
at it.
You
laugh
have
at it.
to
It can make you jaded,
look at
right?
it and say, well, I'm never going to be like that. And I'm going to stay true to myself. And there's a great quote by Dr. Joe Dispenza. Your personality creates your personal reality. And you will find yourself being pulled in different directions. And if you stay true to yourself and you drive the car that you want to drive, not what other people think is a great car, or you wear the clothes that you want to wear, the watch that you want to wear, not because what other people are saying, because it's actually what you want, then you're not going to fall for this guru shit anymore.
He uses an Android and he's proud of it.
He's
He's living the standard.
I'm a
See?
G-Shock guy. I'm a Dodge Viper guy. I'm a
I thought you wanted a
jeans
hoopty band.
and a black T-shirt guy.
That's
right?
it. He sticks to his principles, his roots,
He
right?
does.
That's it.
So I'll give you the guru number 4 now.
All right.
Guru number 4 is the big exit talks. So we get all these podcasts, and they're always talking about, wait, so-and-so built a company, they sold it for 50 million, 100 million. Like, cool, that sounds great. It sounds like revenue talk, right? They don't know what percentage that they actually own of that company. How much did they actually net from that big deal? So I've been listening to these podcasts, learning more about SaaS and tech space. And man, they got some big number exits when you hear about $1 billion exit, $100 million exit, $50 million exits. Then you start to realize when you listen to these shows and they break down the numbers, a lot of these companies that are funded by private equity and rounds and seed rounds, a lot of times the founder of the company, usually only owns like 2 to 5% of the actual company. And the reason it grew to $50 million is because of the capital that was invested and growing it and scaling it. And so when they go sell it, they net 2 to 5% of what that big number is. And so do the math. If you had a $100 million exit, which you sound like you're super awesome, I had a $100 million exit, and you had 2% of that, you would net $2 million. So is that as impressive as a $100 million exit?
No, it sounds better as 100 million.
Correct.
It sounds
burn
a
that
whole
pretty
lot
quickly.
better.
That's guru math.
You know,
Yeah.
So,
it's not plumber math because we don't count that high.
no. Well, we're coming up on an hour already, man. So,
Yeah.
final words.
Hold on, final words. What is the best book you've ever read that helped you business-wise?
Outside of my own, let me think.
No, yours is
Side
good.
Hustle Millionaire.
It's a solid book.
Best business book I've ever read. It's the one, well, I don't know if it's the best business book, but it's certainly one that comes to mind that I really value. Danny Meyer is a restaurateur. He came from the Midwest somewhere, and he moved to New York. He started Union Square Hospitality, created a number of New York's top restaurants and such, really a good marketer, a good brander, etc. But what he wrote a book called Setting the Table, and it was about hospitality and customer service.
Cool.
And I remember it really well because it was very real, it was very applicable, and the most memorable tidbit and soundbite I remember from it was when he's indoctrinating, sort of like introducing a bunch of new hires and talking to them personally. He says, "We do not have customers here. We have guests."
Nice.
Because the way you treat guests is totally different than the way you treat customers. We make sure that guests are happy that they came. We make sure that they actually are glad they came. And so that's the book that comes by for me.
Man, if we were at dinner last night, we should have gave that book idea to the waitress. Am I right?
And the owner, the guy behind everyone.
Because he's
everyone that
responsible
worked
for the
in that
waitress.
I think
Absolutely.
the waitress needed an intervention, not a book.
So when it comes to, I'm going to say 2 books. I'm going to break the rule here, but the book that changed my life is Rich Dad Poor Dad. It got me to see what an asset was as compared to a liability. I was a senior in college, changed my life, and it got me into entrepreneurship. I became a licensed real estate agent and got into real estate, and I was off and running. But the book that I will add that is not talked about as much is a book called Influence by Robert Cialdini. And that really showed me how you need to build influence in life, getting social proof, getting the market to sign off on you as a winner, getting that best-selling author tag associated with your name, getting the market to prove that maybe you have some value. And there are so many tricks in that book that show you that you need to create your value in the marketplace for people to pay you a lot of money, for them to have trust. Everybody has a checklist mentally before they do business with you. So you need to check off as many boxes as possible, as fast as possible. And I recommend that book, probably number 2. If you're out there and you're just starting out, check out Rich Dad Poor Dad. Once you get in the game, check out Influence.
I've read so many books. I read business books every day. And I would say personally what's benefited me most is anything that taught me psychology and marketing and messaging and things like that. But from a practical business book, the best book that I can recall, and I can't remember the author because it was a couple of years I read it, it's called The Road Less Stupid. And I think the author's Cunningham. And so that book is very tactical for operating and management and leadership in a business. And what I really enjoyed about that business book was that, one, it's full of wisdom from someone that's been in the space for a very long time. And even some of the things I was doing in oil and gas and multi-billion-dollar projects, it applied at that level. So I think it was a good book for someone that's scaling even to a large business, and it was just very fundamentals. And so very tactical book, very good wisdom, and the title's awesome, The Road Less Stupid.
Great title.
I like that. No, that sounds like one for me. My 2 first ones that I always think of are E-Myth by Michael Gerber, and then Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill. And those are 2 that I keep going back to. But one that's a short, easy read that I think everybody should read is The Dip by Seth Godin. And he starts off at the beginning of the book. He's like, look, if you're not trying to be the very best, why not? And no matter what you're doing out there, no matter what niche, what industry, what career, what profession, what job, I don't care if you're the French fry cook at McDonald's, try to be the very best at it because it's going to help you move up and do more. And it's a quick, easy read, but just listening to it, there were so many times during that book, I'm just like, oh my gosh, why don't I look at it that way? And I think a lot of things I do, but after that book, I started looking at more things. Why am I not giving 100% to be the very best at this? And it was really good.
Decline and Fall of the Roman Empire by Edward Gibbon. No, I'm kidding.
Oh God!
If you'd asked me,
God, here we go.
If you had asked me 2 years ago, I would have said the 10X Rule by Grant Cardone because I didn't have a business background. I didn't know what it was, how hard you had to work to actually create something. But, and David, I'm not blowing smoke up your ass on this one. I read your book, Brand Intervention, 2 years ago. It changed the entire way we look at our business. I have a brand standards manual now. We look at the different way, like our brand has its own voice. Our brand communicates in a different way. We serve only a very specific type of clientele. We have before brand, we have before experience branding. We have during experience branding. We have post experience branding. Like, it has changed our entire company, and it's literally one of the best business books I've ever read.
Excellent.
Wow.
Well, that's a good way to wrap this episode, coming up on that hour. So thank you all for hanging out and learning some things from us. If you got comments or want to give us some feedback or some criticism, we're open to that. So wherever you're listening to this or watching it, drop those comments. We'll get back to you on those. And thanks for hanging out with us.
Absolutely.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks,
Yep.
guys.